Jack, how did we forget in our first news video this morning? Bad Bunny's won a Grammy.
Bad Bunny has won a Grammy. Congratulations to Bad Bunny.
Yes.
Well, we were joking about running it as WWE Champion wins Grammy, but it seemed a bit too...
Well, it could have either been him or maybe it could have been Braun Strowman finally releasing that love song album that we know he's got in him. Get These Hands. Songs in the Key of Love by Braun Strowman. That's worthy of a Grammy. Here is some wrestling news that isn't. Some big WWE stars look to be missing WrestleMania 37. Also, a Raw Superstar wants more TV time. And we've got the backstage reaction to WWE's leg-slapping ban from this past week. Get to it in a bit. Looking ahead to, how many days out now are we from WrestleMania? It's just a couple of weeks now, isn't it? It's creeping up on us. Jeez.
Yeah, it's hilariously close, Tom.
And discussing the lineup for WrestleMania on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said that there's going to be some big marquee names that aren't going to be part of the big show of the year this year, by the looks of things.
Yes, he was talking on Wrestling Observer Radio and basically said he was talking about Edge and the positioning of Edge and how Edge might not be enough of an attraction on his own because Meltzer says no Goldberg, no Undertaker, no Lesnar, so you've taken some of the biggest attractions off and Edge does not replace them. Edge is going to get a lot of criticism, he says. Not so much for being Edge, but because it's only Edge, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was worried then that he was going to come down hard on Edge's performance or something. But what he means is that I think because they built that thing over the years with WrestleMania that this is where like a lot of big names come by for one day, and this year not so much. And in a way, this is kind of the way that it should be. This is what WrestleMania should be about. I mean, whilst it is great to pay homage to homage to those gone by, and that's what, WrestleMania, you do pack those big names in, but I arc for a more simple time when you just have stories that are told well over several months and they're paid off at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
More of that is kind of what we need. Less people just being airdropped into stadiums around April time.
And I mean, we talked about on our last news video today, check it out if you haven't seen it already. We talked about you asking me about the 2 times I went to WrestleMania. And one of the big differences was WrestleMania 32 was full of like The Rock, Austin, Michaels, Foley. They all made an appearance at some point or another. So that meant that the next year, WrestleMania 33, which I think is generally regarded as better than WrestleMania 32, but it kind of felt a little bit more flat because it didn't have as many of those moments because we'd become accustomed to The Rock and Austin and everything. But to make up for it, there was the Hardy Boys. But them aside, it did feel like it was missing certain moments here and there, despite the consensus being that it's the stronger of the 2 shows.
But we shouldn't be conditioned to be waiting for those things to happen. It should be a case of, just I don't want to repeat myself again, but I will repeat myself again. I want stories that are told well over several months that are paid off on the night. That was, Rock Austin. You think about this, how this is something that is relatively modern. The idea of dropping in legends to boost WrestleMania. You think, say, WrestleMania 14, you had Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels, you had Mike Tyson there for that, and that felt like a special thing. But then if you'd had, say, I'm trying to think who would have been a version, say like the Honky Tonk Man getting involved in a match, because he was a star of a relative time period after that. Had Honky Tonk Man running out and beating up a modern star, would have been particularly weird. Like if you'd had WrestleMania 1 and had Hogan getting into it with as he did with Piper and Paul Orndorff, and had Lou Thez come out and try and put a hold on Piper, it didn't need that. The characters and the stories they were told stood on their own. These are examples off the top of my head. I apologize if they're not perfect, but you kind of get the idea, right?
I get it, but then there is a counter argument to be had that WrestleMania these days is almost bigger than WrestleMania. This sounds going to sound like
bigger than the Beatles.
Sound like such a stupid sentence. No, WrestleMania is bigger than wrestling. As in WrestleMania is bigger than the industry in which it is, because people who don't watch wrestling anymore watch WrestleMania. WrestleMania is a huge celebration and festival of wrestling these days. It's not just about the show itself, which is a good and a bad thing in many different ways, but maybe that's just the way that we expect it to be now. And you're right. Where do we go from here? Is that sustainable, really?
And also, I think this year's different in the sense that, this WrestleMania is always the home of the lapsed wrestling fan. And in order to sort of draw those eyes in, you are probably going to pluck more, as they have them from the modern era, from those times gone by to draw some eyes. Whereas this year, like, it's one of a handful of events that are going ahead. So it already has eyes on it. Like, it's this, that, and in terms of like an event of that size, there's nothing else that's running that's close to it. So the fact that there is an event that's even running, I think will draw in quite a lot of eyes, for better or for worse, for praise or for criticism. It'll draw a lot of eyes that having those big names as well. And also because of the way that it's being done, because it's a limited capacity, I guess they are very mindful of even though this company has made a ridiculous amount of money, they are very aware of the bottom line. And maybe it's a case of saving there. I don't know, but we will see how that pans out. But as it stands, some names who aren't going to be involved in it will give some room for names that should be there all the time. Anyway, I'm just saying, one of those names who I think should be a part of the WrestleMania lineup on one of the two nights is Mustafa Ali. He has been speaking with TV Insider ahead of his US Championship match against Riddle tonight. What's he been saying, Jack?
He's been saying that he wants to be on TV more, which is totally totally understandable because he's not on TV as much as he should be. He's one of those wrestlers, along with the likes of Cesaro and Chad Gable and people like that, who often is thought of as underutilized by WWE. So as you mentioned, he was talking to TV Insider and said he wishes that not only himself, but his group as well, Retribution, had more TV time, saying the talent is there. The biggest obstacle and challenge the group faces is the why. Who are we? Why are we here? What's our vendetta against WWE and corporate infrastructure? We've not been able to tell that story. Retribution is still an opportunity to be on TV every week. We've done stuff and everyone is aware who is in the group, but we are not able to address who we really are. I haven't explained why I'm the leader and what power I hold over these people, and I'd like to do so. The fans have been left to connect the dots, which I never like to do. It's a 3-hour show. Stuffing £5,000 into a £5 bag isn't going to work. We have to take our time. We're doing the best with the time we're given. Tom, after reading that, I want Mustafa Ali to be the head of creative in WWE.
Yes.
He knows how to tell a story. He knows what's wrong with the product and he knows how to fix it. I think get him in, give him the book.
There's a lot of salient points said there by Mustafa Ali, and I get it. I think Retribution has been a bit of a punching bag for us critics and pundits over the last 12 months since less than that since their debut, because like it's something that started off with quite a bit of intrigue, really fell off. Then we had that infamous night where they debuted all their names and stuff. We went, what? And as somebody that watches Raw week in, week out, it is wildly inconsistent what they do with Retribution, and I get Ali's frustrations, and it's a shame that it's a shame they only get so much time, but it's a shame that Ali has to use a chunk of that time to tell us we need more time, you need to talk about us more, because by the time you've done that, your time's gone. But hopefully tonight, hey, who knows, maybe they'll change the title tonight, maybe they'll make Ali a bit more of a focus. That's wishful thinking. I don't know if they will. WWE bringing in some top Australian talent next on our itinerary today. Performance Centre's looking beefy start of this year, isn't it, Jack?
Yeah, it really, really is. Australian talents Matty Wahlberg and Steph DeLander are now under WWE contract. Unfortunately, I'm really not well versed on the Australian wrestling scene. If anybody does have good knowledge of it, do pop down in the comments below what these guys are like, what we can expect from them. Are you familiar with either of them, Tom?
Yeah, well, what I can tell you, well, Matty Wahlberg is a beast of a worker, part of Pro Wrestling Australia. Robbie and Madison Eagles, they are the two guys. If you're trained by them in Australia, then you're going to be doing all right.
Yeah.
And Wahlberg and Steph DeLander both trained by them. I think DeLander has more in terms of sort of chops stateside because she's done stuff with Shimmer, Black Label Pro, IWA Mid-South, but both really good gets for this incredible Performance Center class of 2021. Have a little rundown, Jack, of some of the names we've got in this class as well. There's some decent names.
Already we've got an incredible number of women's wrestlers, in which Steph DeLander will be adding to, including Taya Valkyrie, Angela Arnold, Priscilla Kelly, or Gigi. Oh man,
I think it's Dolan. Gigi Dolan.
I thought it was Alan. No, Gigi Allen's already a person. What am I talking about? Yeah, Gigi Dolan.
You
Gigi
fell
Dolan.
over that line.
Cora Jade, Carissa Rivera, and Zoe Stark, who's already appeared quite a few times on NXT, I believe.
I had a lovely message from Ben Potter from Triple Jump over the weekend. He won't mind me saying this. And he said, Tom, I'm watching NXT. Can I ask you a question? I said, yeah, sure. Zoe Stark's really good, isn't she? And I was like, yes, he is very good. He says, I'm going to keep an eye on Zoe Stark. I like Zoe Stark. So Ben Potter is already the first celebrity fan of Zoe Stark. So excellent work and good taste by Ben Potter as well. Because Stark is one of those that, as I said to him, I said, there's somebody there that if the pieces fall in the right way, there's a real future star in Zoe Stark. And Matty Wahlberg and Steph DeLander.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing, that they are always now going to sign people who either are incredible athletes in another field or are already great professional wrestlers. So it's a very competitive and difficult environment really to thrive in, but I guess we'll see what happens.
And we'll see what happens this weekend as well. NWA Power on the march back. It's been a long year since I've had my NWA Power, Jack. Did you enjoy NWA Power when it started? Because, like, for me personally, I thought it was a breath of fresh air. It was a really unique product to have. Did you enjoy it?
I did. I enjoyed it. Not even, I mean, this isn't going to be a unique opinion, but I enjoyed it not even for the wrestling, but more for the whole thing they created, the throwback atmosphere and the set and the style of it and the booking of it. I thought was really unique, and that was really effective in a very crowded wrestling landscape. So I'm excited for its return, definitely.
Big updates to come for this weekend. Their pay-per-view Back for the Attack now has a main event. Tell you what that is in just a second. But some exciting news for fans in the UK who want to experience more of the National Wrestling Alliance and more AEW stuff. They have, along with Fight TV, struck up a deal to partner up with Virgin Media. So what this means is starting this weekend, you will be able to, in the UK, tune into Virgin TiVo V6 and Virgin TV 360 devices and watch Fight TV through Virgin. Nick Aldis spoke to metro.co.uk and said all NWA pay-per-views going forward will be available on that platform. The main thing I really want to convey to anyone who's going to read this, if you're one of the millions of fans around the world who have fallen out of love with wrestling because the industry just doesn't quite hit the notes you remember it hitting, you might find the NWA hits those notes. And that is very, very, very true. It seriously does.
It certainly is true. And I think maybe it'll stand out even more now that there's less wrestling to watch. Because at the time it stood out even in a very crowded environment. So maybe now this could be a real boost for the promotion. A good time for them to come back in a weird way.
This Sunday, NWA Back for the Attack pay-per-view. It's it's the rebirth of NWA Power. In the videos that we've been seeing, we've seen shots of that gorgeous retro soundstage, which I'm hoping is what we see on Sunday. The main event has been confirmed. What's our main event for Back for the Attack, Jack?
It's Nick Aldis, who, yes, is still the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, defending against Aaron Stevens, formerly known, of course, as WWE's Damien Sandow. And that was announced by Billy Corgan on Sunday, saying that he added this match, or he made this match, to honour the memory of course, Aaron Stevens' tag team partner, Joseph Hudson, better known in NWA as the Question Mark, who tragically passed away in February. So that's a very nice touch as well.
Really lovely touch. Joseph has gone far too soon, and I'm excited to see what's... Actually, Stevens and Aldis will have themselves a cracker. I'm looking forward to see what they do. We'll also see a few other names on that card, including some decent indie talent like Jordan Clearwater and Slice Boogie. We'll see Jax Dane as a decent indie guy as well. Also, Crimson, former TNA guy. Is back now. We were meant to see Crimson last year as part of that retro TNA show around about this time last year, heading into WrestleMania week, and that never panned out quite the way we did. But we're seeing him there, and we're seeing the NWA debut of Chris Adonis, formerly known as Chris Masters.
Adam Pacitti is beside himself with excitement because it's one half of his favourite tag team ever, the Masters of Cool.
They are the best. Simply the best. 5-Star Wrestling's greatest tag team. And that's Sunday. That's NWA Back for the Attack on pay-per-view. Obviously, keep up with NWA on Twitter for more on that one. We end with some news on some thigh slapping. This has been a fun little story over the past week or so. Vince getting well angry with people slapping their meat. Not that meat. Stop it. We have an update, don't we, Jack? What's the latest?
We do. This goes back to Dave Meltzer on the recent edition of the Wrestling Observer Radio. And he was talking about the backstage reaction to it, what the kind of inside story was running around it within the company, because we all heard that the leg slapping had been banned, but we didn't know too much the reasons behind it. So according to Dave Meltzer, there was a sign this past week backstage at shows that said, "Do not slap leg while kicking." So that's where that story came from. But he went on to expand upon this a little bit more than what was reported last week, saying, "For so much of the talent, it's just a natural body movement. The reaction I got from people internally was mostly along the lines of, with all the different problems, why is this, of all things, an issue?" And apparently the story going around is that a big wrestler did this sloppily on SmackDown, unnamed. He doesn't name the big wrestler in question. But Vince reacted by wanting it banned. Just all of it, everywhere, all of them. I don't think NXT quite got the memo. And it seems as though that is, one of Vince's things where he hates something suddenly, like when he couldn't have any wrestling going on through the commercial break. I needed an excuse to end and restart the match, and we had all those 2 out of 3 falls matches for no real reason, and then kind of forgot about it. So maybe you'll just forget about this, or you won't get annoyed by it anymore. Meltzer also raised... Oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, so it's a big wrestler from SmackDown.
Yes.
Do we want to speculate who it might be?
No, I don't want to. I'm scared. I don't want to speculate at all.
Corbin. No. He's always throwing super kicks, is Corbin.
Yeah, he loves a super kick.
He loves a super kick.
Also, Meltzer raises a really interesting point, which is that the weirdness of this is that this is the words of Meltzer, was that some old timers, where the sound effects of hitting your own chest throwing a punch were considered part of the art, or before that, stomping your foot when throwing a punch were acting like this sort of thing was exposing the business. But if it is that, then this is kind of banning something that, in a way, dates back, he says, probably 70 years for the super kick and the thrust kick about 40 years. He's basically saying, why is the super kick? Why is there a stigma around that when making noises artificially to simulate combat has always been a part of pro wrestling for decades and decades now?
I think maybe because for decades and decades, a lot of that has been drowned out by the sound of people.
Right.
And now it's very much not. Like you could, if a lad or a lass slaps their leg to simulate a kick, normally you just have the crowd. You can very much hear it now. I'd imagine that Lex Luger would have been reprimanded during the Thunderdome era of wrestling. He is a noisy boy when he wrestles. I think a lot of that would have been thrown out. But I think that's why, just because we can hear it more, or at least in the back, you're more aware of it.
Yes.
Because of the crushing silence of the Thunderdome. The crushing silence. Stay safe. Love you, Thigh.